Control anybody.
You can control anybody.
I'm a mass manipulator.
I knew it, Hunxho! Nobody said that! I said it earlier.
We gonna have to bleep that part out.
I seen it.
You ain't supposed to tell people that.
It was the way he walked in here and I'm like, how y'all doing? I said, I know a slick nigga when I see one.
Yeah, we can tell you.
You can't get it past me, Hunxho.
Listen up. This isn't your typical messy breakup tale. This is what happens when love becomes a weapon, when silence conceals deception, and when a woman realizes, far too late, that she was never part of the plan. While the world believed Keyshia Cole had finally shut the door on a toxic chapter, she stepped into the spotlight with a bombshell that froze everyone in their tracks. She was pregnant by Hunxho. A fresh start, a new chapter, or so it appeared. But the illusion shattered almost immediately. Behind the smiles, the headlines, and the public facade, Hunxho was playing a completely different game, brazenly, shamelessly. While Keyshia dreamed of stability, family, and healing, he was quietly constructing another life in the shadows. And then the truth landed like a thunderbolt. This wasn't just another woman. It was his ex, the very same woman he already shared a child with. And the timing, that's where everything unraveled. Fans started digging old clips, interviews, receipts, timelines, and the picture that emerged was impossible to ignore. While Keyshia stood by him, believing in their future, he was secretly creating a family elsewhere. Just when the world thought she might walk away with her dignity intact, the story twisted into something darker. Reports began surfacing that she stayed, defended him, even allegedly planned a baby of her own, trying desperately to secure a place in a relationship already slipping through her fingers. Was it desperation or self-preservation? The age gap made it even more complicated. Keyshia in her 40s, Hunxho barely 26, a man who openly admitted he didn't want commitment, didn't want to settle, didn't want to be tied down. And then came the ultimate humiliation. Insiders claimed Hunxho confided to those close to him that he felt baby-trapped, that he never wanted this child, that he publicly walked away, leaving Keyshia exposed, heartbroken, and utterly alone. That's when this story stopped being about cheating. It became something far more sinister, betrayal on a scale nobody saw coming. And the question now isn't just what Hunxho did, it's why Keyshia kept choosing someone who never chose her. And believe me, this story is far from over.
First of all, when y'all talking about something, I knew he got a girl. I was just with this yesterday. And he did not tell me that. I don't care if this get mad or none of that. He never said that. Still, right now, he's not standing on it if you ask me. I was not being messy, y'all. I wasn't, for real. Seriously, I wasn't. But like I said, I was just with the... We was having a conversation yesterday, and I'm not even being messy when I say that. But I wasn't the one to hit him up. I'm gonna say that. Y'all know how y'all have somebody and y'all just don't be sure, but y'all don't take them serious because you're not sure. You feel me? That's what it was. So really, yeah, it's on both sides, honestly, because neither one of us was taking each other serious because we didn't believe each other. That's really what it was, because I didn't believe him and he didn't believe me.
When fans believed Keyshia Cole had finally broken free from one of the most toxic chapters of her life, she shocked the world with a single announcement that flipped the entire narrative. She was pregnant. Not just pregnant, she was carrying Hunxho's child. To many, it seemed like redemption, a fresh start, proof that love had finally triumphed after years of heartbreak. But the illusion was short-lived. Almost immediately, cracks began to appear. What seemed like a hopeful new beginning soon revealed a far darker reality. While Keyshia publicly embraced dreams of family, stability, and commitment, Hunxho was living in a completely different world, one that would leave her humiliated on a global stage. The first fracture emerged when Hunxho announced the birth of another child. Not with a stranger, not a rumor, but with his ex, the very same woman he already shared a child with. Fans were stunned, confused, then enraged. Timelines were scrutinized, dates cross-checked, and the math left no room for doubt. This child had been conceived while Keyshia was fully invested, standing beside him, believing in a shared future. In other words, while Keyshia imagined building a life together, Hunxho was secretly constructing another family behind her back. The internet, as always, dug deep. Old interviews resurfaced, clips were replayed, dates dissected, and the picture that emerged was impossible to ignore. This wasn't misunderstanding. It wasn't bad timing. It was overlap, intentional, calculated, and devastating. Many assumed this would be the moment Keyshia walked away, claiming what remained of her dignity and exiting quietly. But the story took a darker turn. Reports began circulating that she didn't leave. She stayed, and according to insiders, she made the conscious decision to plan a child of her own with Hunxho after learning his ex was expecting again. To supporters, it seemed like a desperate act. To critics, it was survival. Either way, it painted a stark, painful picture of a woman fighting to secure her place in a relationship already slipping through her fingers. The widening gap only made everything more intense. Keyshia Cole, in her 40s, had openly shared her hesitation about having more children, while Hunxho, just 26, lived a life of freedom, excess, and emotional detachment. Fans struggled to reconcile these two completely different worlds. How could stability and recklessness ever coexist? Then came the moment that stripped away any illusions. Hunxho didn't whisper it privately. He didn't hint behind closed doors. He declared it openly, on camera, for the world to hear. His words weren't confused, uncertain, or conflicted. They were confident, chilling, and unapologetic, a public confirmation that commitment had never been part of his plan.
That shit, bro. We not tricking unless it's your main female, bro. Talking about you, like, we gotta find. That's why, bro.
All of them is my main female. All my bitches straight.
But you got multiple, so which one, like, you really rocking with the most?
I love all of them equally. We all one.
Nah, bro. We gotta find you one, bro.
We all family.
So how many?
They all love me. I love all them, but they all love each other. And they respect each other. So they know they better not fuck up.
Like, you feel like you gonna settle down soon?
Hell no.
Why not?
Cause we're just like, I ain't trying to get my heart broke.
That moment changed everything. His words weren't uncertain. They were precise, confident, almost rehearsed. This wasn't a man wrestling with commitment. This was Hunxho, fully aware, fully decided, fully unwilling to believe in it. And suddenly, every lingering question fans had been asking answered itself. Why did he keep multiple women in his orbit? Why did stories keep overlapping? Why did nobody seem to know where they stood? Because nobody did. As the backlash intensified, whispers from Hunxho's inner circle began to surface. People close to him claimed he felt baby trapped, that he never wanted another child with Keyshia, that the pressure frustrated him, that he felt cornered. And then came the most humiliating revelation. He walked away from her publicly, in front of his own crew, leaving Keyshia exposed, humiliated, and alone. At that point, the story stopped being just about cheating. It became a narrative of power, control, and entitlement, a man expecting loyalty while offering none. And surprisingly, public sympathy wasn't fully on Keyshia's side. Many argued the warning signs had been there all along. Hunxho had a history of being linked to other women. Photos surfaced, rumors spread, and when rapper Glitter Gloss posted images suggesting closeness to him, Keyshia responded with subtle shade rather than distance. But Glitter Gloss took it further, going live to claim that Hunxho never even told her he had a girlfriend. In that moment, Keyshia's presence in his life wasn't just diminished, it was erased. Yet still, she stayed. Even as Hunxho went live himself, admitting to involvement with multiple women, openly stating he didn't want to settle, openly demonstrating that commitment was never part of his vision. And eventually, the relationship collapsed under its own weight. This time, there was no spin, no hope, no rewriting the story. During a live performance, Keyshia Cole broke down on stage. Tears streamed freely, her voice cracked under the weight of it all. The pain wasn't subtle. It wasn't staged. It was raw, unfiltered, and real, exhaustion, heartbreak, and humiliation etched into every movement, every expression. For a fleeting moment, it seemed like the story had reached its end. But it hadn't. Against all expectations, reports soon surfaced suggesting she later took Hunxho back, a decision that left fans stunned and divided. And then came the detail that reframed everything. In an entire year, Hunxho allegedly never took Keyshia on a single proper date. Not once. No effort. No consistency. No genuine intention. From the very beginning, the imbalance had existed, quietly ignored, painfully normalized. In the end, the conclusion was impossible to escape. Keyshia had stood beside a man who never truly stood beside her. She endured betrayal, public humiliation, and emotional abandonment, and still paid the highest price. Hunxho walked away untouched. Keyshia was left pregnant, heartbroken, and exposed. And now, the question isn't what Hunxho did, It's whether Keyshia will finally choose herself or repeat the same cycle once more. Because this story is far from over. By the time the breakup went public, the damage had already been done. Not quietly, not in private, but in the harshest possible arena, in front of an audience that had witnessed every move, every smile, every denial. What should have remained personal had erupted into public collapse. And this time, there was no room left to reinterpret the story. Fans had tried for months to rationalize it, convincing themselves that relationships are complicated, that timelines can overlap by accident, that love can look messy before it looks stable. But as more details emerged, that optimism crumbled under its own weight. This wasn't confusion. It was consistency. Hunxho's behavior followed a pattern impossible to ignore. Hunxho's behavior revealed a pattern impossible to ignore: multiple women, overlapping pregnancies, conflicting stories, public indifference, and, above all, a casual detachment from the emotional wreckage he left behind. What cut the deepest wasn't just the betrayal, it was how blatantly it unfolded. According to insiders, Hunxho never attempted damage control. He didn't disappear. He didn't soften the story. Instead, he doubled down, unapologetically, remaining exactly who he had always been. A man who moved freely, answered to no one, and never promised permanence. And Keyshia Cole, she absorbed it all in silence, until she couldn't anymore. When Hunxho publicly distanced himself, the humiliation became impossible to hide. Sources claimed he framed the situation as something done to him rather than something he had caused. Terms like pressure and baby trap began circulating, accusations that shifted blame away from him and onto a woman already carrying the emotional and physical weight of the fallout. For many watching, that was the moment sympathy turned into disbelief. Yet even then, Keyshia didn't retaliate. She didn't launch public attacks. She didn't leak private messages or escalate the drama. She stayed silent. Too silent. And that silence became its own powerful statement. Fans began noticing subtle changes, fewer appearances, less engagement, a new heaviness in her presence. It was as if the reality she had been desperately trying to hold together had finally cracked, slowly, painfully, and in full view of the public. The breaking point came on stage. During a live performance, Keyshia struggled to maintain composure. Her voice faltered, her body language shifted, and then the tears came, raw, unfiltered exhaustion spilling out in real time. Not performative, not theatrical, just real, uncontainable emotion. Clips spread instantly. Some saw vulnerability, others saw regret. Many saw a woman confronting the cost of loving someone who never loved her back the same way. And yet, even after that moment, the story refused to settle. Reports surfaced that Keyshia hadn't fully walked away, that she had allowed Hunxho back into her life. The revelation stunned fans who believed the pain would finally draw a hard line. Why go back? Why reopen a wound that hadn't even begun to heal? The answer, according to those closest to her, wasn't weakness. It was hope. Hope that the man she had believed in would finally become the man she truly needed. Hope that patience, sacrifice, and time would one day be rewarded. But history had already proven otherwise. As the scrutiny grew, another uncomfortable truth emerged. Despite the public relationship, despite the pregnancy, despite pouring her heart into it, Hunxho allegedly never once took Keyshia Cole on a proper date. Not a single one in an entire year. No gestures of romance. No consistency. No indication of long-term intention. And suddenly, it all made sense. This wasn't a relationship that had simply fallen apart. It was a connection that had never existed on equal ground. Then, without warning, Keyshia finally spoke. Not directly, not aggressively, but in a way that said everything, without ever naming him.
I've been on a date in a long time, to be honest with you. I ain't trying to snitch on Hunxho. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? That was a sad thing to say. I shouldn't have said that.
Intrusive thoughts.
My bad. Yeah, Hunxho ain't took me on a date, man.
We outside though.
Yeah. I don't even remember.
Think so.
Oh, yes I do. I remember. Yeah.
Those words landed heavier than any accusation ever could. In that fleeting moment, the truth slipped through, not as a headline, not as an expose, but as fatigue, as realization, as someone finally admitting what they had spent months trying to deny. Keyshia Cole didn't name him. She didn't assign blame. She didn't ask for sympathy. She simply revealed absence. No dates. No effort. No presence. And suddenly, the entire relationship looked different. Viewers didn't hear bitterness, they heard loneliness. The kind that lingers even when someone is technically beside you. The kind that grows when promises are implied but never kept. The kind that makes you question whether you were ever truly chosen. As the clip circulated, public perception shifted. This was no longer gossip, it was pattern recognition. People began to see that what happened to Keyshia wasn't a single act of betrayal. It was a slow erosion of her worth. And Hunxho? He remained unchanged. No public apology, no accountability, no acknowledgement of the emotional wreckage he left behind. He moved forward as if nothing had happened, as if the devastation behind him was someone else's burden to bear. In the end, the contrast spoke louder than words ever could. Keyshia Cole stood exposed, pregnant, heartbroken, emotionally drained, while Hunxho walked away untouched, unbothered, unmoved. And now, the question lingers in the silence she left behind. Is this the moment she finally sees the truth for what it is? Or is it just another chapter in a cycle she hasn't yet escaped? Because one thing is certain, this story was never merely about love. It was about imbalance, about control, about what happens when devotion meets indifference. And whatever comes next, the cost has already been paid. The aftermath didn't arrive with closure, it arrived as silence. A silence so heavy it forced everyone to look back at everything they thought they understood, and question how it all went so wrong. Everything fans thought they understood had to be re-evaluated. This story was no longer just about a breakup. It had revealed a pattern, hiding in plain sight all along. For months, fans had tried to frame the situation as complicated but salvageable. They told themselves that love evolves, that people grow, that messy beginnings don't always lead to tragic endings. But as time passed, defending that optimism became impossible. Every new detail didn't soften the story, it sharpened it. Hunxho never corrected the record. He never clarified his intentions. He never acknowledged the damage he had caused. Instead, he moved forward as if the chaos he left behind belonged to someone else. And that forced the public to reassess everything from the very start. Looking back, the warning signs weren't subtle, they were simply ignored. The age gap wasn't the problem. The lifestyle wasn't the problem. The fame wasn't the problem. The issue was alignment, or, more accurately, the complete lack of it. Keyshia Cole entered the relationship seeking stability, healing, and permanence. Hunxho entered already in motion, already detached, already comfortable with temporary connections. Those two worlds were never meant to merge. Yet one person kept bending herself to fit the other's direction. And each adjustment cost her a piece of herself. What made it even more painful was how normalized the imbalance became. Friends, fans, and commentators watched as Keyshia defended a man who gave her nothing to defend. Every public explanation chipped away at the version of her people had admired for years. The woman known for strength, self-respect, and honesty. What replaced it was endurance. Endurance of disrespect. Endurance of silence. Endurance of public humiliation. And endurance always carries a price. As weeks passed, the narrative shifted again. The sympathy that once surrounded her story turned into frustration, not because people lacked compassion, but because they recognized a pattern. A cycle repeating, not because the outcome was uncertain, but because hope refuses to die, even when the evidence demands it should. Hunxho's behavior never changed. His words never softened. His choices never evolved. And yet, the emotional weight landed squarely on Keyshia Cole alone. She carried the pregnancy. She carried the scrutiny. She carried the heartbreak. She carried the heartbreak. He carried on. That contrast became impossible to ignore. Behind the scenes, insiders painted a picture of a relationship that had been one-sided from the very start, effort optional, accountability absent, and commitment treated like a burden rather than a bond. The clearer this picture became, the more evident it was that what Keyshia Cole endured wasn't sudden betrayal. It was delayed realization. And realization always hurts the most when you've already given everything. The public began asking harder questions, not about Hunxho, whose behavior had become entirely predictable, but about Keyshia's internal struggle. Why stay when the signs were unmistakable? Why defend something that kept erasing you? The answer wasn't weakness. It was investment. Emotional, physical, and public investment. Walking away meant admitting the cost was permanent, that her sacrifices hadn't secured safety, that the future she had envisioned had never been shared. And that kind of truth is terrifying. As time passed, the story stopped dominating headlines, but it never disappeared. It lingered in the background, resurfacing every time Hunxho appeared with someone new, every time a lyric hinted at freedom, every time Keyshia seemed quieter, more reserved. Silence became the loudest statement of all. No dramatic expose, no public war, no final confrontation, just absence. And often, absence is where reality settles. For many watching, the lesson was uncomfortable but undeniable. Love cannot survive without respect. Loyalty cannot fix indifference. Sacrifice, no matter how deep, cannot force someone to choose you if they never intended to. Keyshia Cole's story became a mirror, not just of celebrity relationships, but of a truth many recognize in their own lives. The danger of staying too long, the hope that time can change someone who benefits from staying the same, and the belief that patience is proof of love. But patience without reciprocity becomes self-betrayal. In the end, Hunxho didn't. Hunxho didn't need to explain himself. His actions had already told the story, a story of freedom placed above responsibility, desire valued over duty, movement prioritized over meaning. And Keyshia Cole was left standing at the intersection of consequence and choice. This wasn't about villainy. It was about incompatibility amplified by power and imbalance. One person had options, the other had attachment. An attachment, when unreturned, transforms love into loss. The narrative now hangs unresolved, not because facts are missing, but because the next step belongs to one person alone. Whether this becomes the closing chapter or yet another repetition depends entirely on a decision that hasn't been made public. But one thing is certain. The woman who entered this relationship hopeful is not the woman who exited it broken. She has changed, marked by experience, forced to confront a reality she had desperately tried to avoid. And as the noise fades and the cameras move on, the question is no longer for Hunxho, but for Keyshia. Will she finally choose peace over persistence? Or will hope once again convince her to stay where she was never truly chosen? Because this story doesn't end with betrayal, it ends with a choice. And the weight of that choice has never been heavier. This is where the story stops being entertainment and begins to feel uncomfortably real. What unfolded here wasn't just another celebrity scandal or messy headline. It was a slow, public unraveling that millions witnessed in real time. Betrayal didn't arrive all at once. It crept in, step by step, through excuses, silence, and hope that lasted far longer than it should have. Keyshia Cole didn't lose because she loved too hard. She lost because she believed loyalty would eventually be returned. Because she thought patience could transform indifference into commitment. Because she stood beside someone who had already decided to keep moving, no matter who was left behind. And that is what hurts the most. Not the cheating, not the rumors, not the humiliation, but the realization that while one person was planning a future, the other was only passing time. Hunxho didn't fall apart. He didn't face consequences. He didn't even slow down. He walked away lighter, untouched, as if nothing meaningful had ever existed. Meanwhile, Keyshia Cole was left carrying the weight of choices made in trust, in public, and in love. This isn't a story about villains and victims. It's about imbalance.